What's up, guys? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. If you want to get caught up on some of these books, I'll have links down below in the description. It's a great way to help support the channel. But let's go over to Marvel first. The only Marvel book I read this week was Ultimate Wolverine issue number 16. Now, of course, we have Chris Condon on this one, and we have Cappuccio on the art. I was along for the ride for Ultimate Wolverine. I fell off of Black Panther. I fell off of X-Men. I eventually am falling off of Ultimate Endgame. I stuck with it through the Ultimates and whatnot, but like my patience for this entire series is waning really thin. I have been enjoying what I've been reading inside of Ultimate Wolverine. I wanted to see it through. It's going to end a little earlier than some of the other books, issue number 16. So what is the conclusion of this one? Well, it was kind of thrown away, and there was really no big battle at the very end, right? Something we were expecting. We did get some resolution between like the Rasputins and Wolverine and Jean, and we even had some of the Colossus stuff inside the book, but there wasn't any big battle at the end. Wolverine and Jean Grey go to where they need to go. They take on Illyana, and that was it. It's just a stab and run, essentially. And then we get to sit by a campfire and talk about the big inevitable battle with the Maker towards the end of the Ultimate run. So it was 16 issues of just this day in a life kind of a thing, heading towards a goal, this big buildup, and then there was really no payoff at the end. So man, what a kind of a disappointing ending to Ultimate Wolverine. The artwork was solid through the whole thing. We introduced some really cool moments scattered around through the entire series, but like, do you need to read this? No, you don't need to read it at all. If you want to see what Wolverine's up to during this entire event, then great, but there's nothing like consequential about it besides the fact that we got Jean on the team and we have a Sentinel that we've reprogrammed with the Vision. That's something, I guess. All right, let's go over to DC next. We have Absolute Batman issue number 19. We have Dragata back. We have the Scarecrow introduced into here, the Absolute Scarecrow. We also have the tease of what the Robins are. We're going to get a lot more of them in issue number 20, but we get their basic origin story in here. Are they going to be heroes? Are they going to be villains? We're going to see in the subsequent issues. I'm sure they're going to be turning back and forth, and we're going to have some play with the individual Robins themselves, but we have a whole team of Robins coming. So what does that mean for Batman? His mentality has shifted coming out of the Poison Ivy arc. He's more ruthless. He has more toys on display inside the issue. And like I said, we get Scarecrow in here. He makes his presence felt in the very beginning of these pages, and then definitely towards the end of the book when him and Batman start mingling a little bit. He's going to be a force to reckon with. Big implications inside this issue. Major moments in here that are going to have undoubtedly lasting effects going through the rest of the series. I love the issue. I think it's solid. Every single issue in this series has been solid. It's a must-read book. If you're not, you got to be jumping on. There's plenty of trades to catch up on. Definitely check out issue number 19. Now, also in DC, we have a bunch of next level books. We have Batwoman issue number 2, Greg Rucka on this one. We have Danny, of course, on the artwork. I am a Danny stan, so anything that she does, I'm going to be picking up and checking out. This book does not do the reader any favors. So issue number 1 was divisive. Some people enjoyed it, some people just hated it, right? And I can see both sides. It wasn't very new reader friendly. Lots of questions, lots of confusions. Lots of maybe bait and switches happening inside issue number 1 that we thought might be cleared up in issue number 2. Definitely wasn't, but you know, if you pay attention to how the characters are acting, I have my own theories about what's going on. Fairly obvious, I think, if it ends up being that, what I think it is. But I think that issue number 3 is really going to help explain a lot of things. But again, it's not a book that's new reader friendly necessarily, and it doesn't really do you any favors. Now, there is a lot of emotion in here. There's a lot of characters acting in ways we didn't necessarily expect. So I think it's pretty cool from that point of view. The interior artwork is solid. I think it's not Danny's best work, but it's fun to see her drawing these characters. Now, we also had Lobo issue number 2. And so this one from Scotty Young, we have Jorge Corona doing that. Amazing creative team on this, just handling the visuals perfectly. There's a really gritty, disgusting, garbage-like world. Lobo himself is not a likable character. He's an anti-hero for sure. He plays the role well in here. So I think the writing is solid. I think my issue with the series so far, and again, we're only 2 issues in, is a substance issue. Like, am I going to care about this character? Am I going to care about the arc that he's going to go through? What his next objectives are? The first 2 issues are basically him being poached by some social media conglomerate, wanted to make him into a brand, and he doesn't know how to follow the rules, and he constantly gets censored when he's going through issue number 2. Like, you can't do that, you can't say that, you can't act like that. And eventually we basically terminate your contract, and that's kind of it. We're going to head towards a different direction very soon. So kind of a funny way of introducing the character here, getting an idea of what his mindset is. Great introduction on an art perspective, I think, just telling you what the world looks like and what he looks like and how this is going to feel going forward. But am I going to care about this character after 5, 6, 7, 8 issues? Don't know yet. Now we had Tony Fleece over on Deathstroke, the Terminator issue number 2. Again, a great book that has solid writing in it, and it has solid artwork as well, and solid coloring and everything. So it's a great visual treat, but I think it has that substance. It has that emotional care factor in it. It has the best parts of what Batwoman has, the best parts of what Lobo has, and then it adds a little bit more. What those other books are lacking, I think we're seeing inside of Deathstroke. It's also doing a thing that maybe Absolute Batman and some of the other Absolute books are doing, where they're bringing in other classic characters we didn't see coming. And I don't know how they're going to be used to what effect inside the series, but they're at least bringing new people in, some fresh faces very quickly. And we're going to have to deal with those threats here very soon. And sort of like Lobo, this book here for Deathstroke is a good place to jump in if you don't have any familiarity with the character himself. It does a good job of walking you through the relationships that he has, who he was dependent on, who he leaned on, what his team was. We're going to be building on that, of course, as we go forward. But we have that emotional hook immediately inside of issue number 1. We care about the character. We want to see what's going to happen next. And now we have some new threats thrown into it. I'm all on board. Next up is Catwoman number 86. Again, I think it's essential reading for DC at the moment because we are playing around with a lot of old lore inside of Batman. And when I say old lore, I'm talking about like the 80s. So if you're a fan of year 1 and that era of Batman, there are so many callbacks, both in a story point of view, in a visual point of view. Some of the panels just are very reminiscent. There's some spiral staircase scenes, things like that. So if you're a big fan of Selena Kyle, if you want to know more about her relationship with some of her friends and people that she kind of like fostered when she was younger during the year 1 era, this is directly playing off of a lot of that lore. There's also a lot of Black Mask in here. So if you enjoy that character, you want to see him try to systematically destroy Selena, her family, the people that she cares about, this is definitely the book for you. And then again, on top of all that, it tugs on those nostalgic heartstrings. The interior artwork is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love the coloring inside the book and everything. So, you know, what is it going to amount to? Who knows? But I'm having a great time reading Catwoman for the last 5, 6 issues, I'd say. And I think they're doing some amazing things over there. So check it out if you haven't yet. All right, let's go over to Dark Horse next. We have Night City issue number 3. Matt Kindt on this one, David Lapham doing some of the art. Kindt is actually doing some of the coloring in here, which is a great dynamic between those two. I will say that issue number 3 didn't stick the landing for me personally, but I think that's my fault. I need to go back and read issue number 2 and really digest all the little moves that our villain character was making throughout that issue to kind of set the stage for how 3 could end. Of course, we have a situation where we have a Superman type character. Whenever he falls asleep, he literally warps reality around him to turn into his Clark Kent persona. His villain, his arch nemesis, realizes this pattern and tries to take advantage of that, being able to switch realities himself, knowing that he's vulnerable in that Clark Kent state and trying to mess with the world while he's there. Now, he does learn some lessons that we explore in this issue, maybe some in second issue, but, you know, at the end of the day, he kind of retracts some of the things that he was doing. He sees our hero maybe as a tragic character. I missed a little bit of the nuance there, honestly, of what was exactly going on inside of issue number 3. I got to go back and read number 2, reread number 3, and see if that changes my opinion, but it didn't obviously present itself to me, and so it didn't quite stick to landing because of that, but again, it could have been my fault. All right, let's go over to Mad Cave next. We have Racer X. We have issue number 6. I really like this complementary story to the Speed Racer universe that David Pepose is setting up. So if you've been following on the channel lately, I really enjoy Speed Racer. Tales from the Road, I think, is another spin-off of that. And then we have Racer X kind of complementing everything as well. This particular issue, though, I felt like a little bit of a step back narrative-wise, especially the timing with the last issue of Racer X, or I'm sorry, Speed Racer, where we dealt with this new engine technology. We dealt with these rivaling families, and we kind of put that to bed. Then Racer X comes out and kind of stirs all that back up, or maybe it was a retroactive look at like the buildup between there. But I felt like we were kind of past that conflict, and this one kind of brings it back to the forefront a little bit. But if you really enjoyed what you liked in Speed Racer with the technology and the engines and how dangerous it could be and how it could really take over the racing industry if it was successful, they play around with a lot of that and how they can make, you know, essentially martyrs out of people to promote that new technology. So it has some cool twists and turns to it, but like I'm already done with that aspect and was expecting a little bit more. Okay, let's go over to Image next. We have Fireborn issue number 1. Now, I'm not actually reading the Lost Fantasy series anymore. I picked up the first maybe 3 issues or so. It didn't quite resonate with me, so I dropped off. But this is a new #1. I wanted to check it out. It's in the same universe. So I wanted to see if it was new reader friendly and what the deal was. Now, aside from not knowing who these characters are or if they play a significant role in Lost Fantasy themselves, I will say that it is new reader friendly from like an excitement point of view. A lot of great visuals in here. They really use the 2-page spread format there to really kind of showcase the power behind this new ability inside of Fireborn and some of the other magical elements they display throughout the issue. It is a pretty straightforward story, though. We have this kind of a screw-up type of character who gets imbued with this magical power he's trying to understand. People are after him, and he runs into some of our other heroes that we may or may not know from the previous series. So it follows a pretty familiar format, but the visual aspect of this, I think, is the winner in this issue. And again, they use that great 2-page spread to full effect, great work of composition and coloring and whatnot. So I don't know if it's a series I want to continue reading. I feel like I want that context from Lost Fantasy to fully appreciate what's going on inside of here and kind of put the pieces together. But I'd say for an issue #1, it was visually pleasing, it had a cool story, it had a familiar tone to it, and I think it's worth checking out if you haven't yet. All right, let's go over to the Energon universe. We have G.I. Joe issue #21. Now, if you liked everything you read previously with Scarlet and with Storm Shadow and Jinx and all of that stuff, we're going back now and revisiting all of that. We want to bring some of these people back into the fold. People are out for Scarlet right now, so we have to get in there, get her out safely, and avoid any kind of confrontation with Cobra, which inevitably we run into in this issue. Of course, it's a G.I. Joe book, so the best parts about this is seeing Scarlet, seeing Storm Shadow, seeing Jinx and other people taking on Cobra's forces. Again, we get some Joes in there, so we have this like 3-way battle and this extraction mission going on at the same time. Visually, it was amazing to see that. Not a whole lot on the dialogue side. It kind of let the visuals do the storytelling, which I'm totally fine with. At the end of the day, we're going to see the repercussions of this attack from Cobra and who really is to blame for some people getting injured or possibly killed in the issue. Personally, this is an area of growth for me. I'm not too familiar with all the characters. I grew up around this property, but I'm learning as I go. But man, G.I. Joe is one of my favorite Energon books coming out right now. I've dropped some of the other ones just kind of out of boredom, to be honest with you, but G.I. Joe keeps me hooked every single month. Then we have the Sssilent missions Zartan coming up as well from G.I. Joe Real American Hero. These great one-shots featuring the Sssilent missions. I've loved all of these. Visually, they have some great creators on them to help tell that story. And this one, I'd say it's dialed back a little bit. Zartan's an interesting character. He can kind of morph himself into whoever he needs to be. It's about a heist of this really destructive technology and how Cobra wants it and the Joes want it. And now, of course, Zartan and his folks want it. So it's this 3-way battle of who will prevail at the end of the day and get this technology. Zartan does a lot of shape-shifting throughout the issue and a lot of double crossing and things like that. So it is cool to see him prevail at the end of the day. What is he going to do with that? Who knows? It's a one-shot, so we're going to leave it at that. But again, it's a good use of visual medium to tell the story in an interesting way. Next up is Redcoat issue #17. Besides Geiger, this is my other favorite book inside this universe until they come up with another Junkyard Joe series at some point. Fingers crossed on that. But Redcoat is phenomenal. Simon Pierce is a great character. We've proven that now since his introduction in the very first issue and some of the 80-page giants and whatnot. He's a good character no matter where you put him and who you have interacting with him, which I think is the key to like a successful series in general. In recent issues, we had a former villain, Benedict Arnold, come back into the mix here. He was basically trapped in the harbor in some shipwreck. We covered that already with Albert Einstein and with Redcoat himself in the previous issues, previous arcs. He is back now. He seemingly had a change of heart, but like you can never trust a guy like this, and Albert certainly doesn't. Now, Simon himself, he's learning to trust him a little bit, but he's putting him on a short leash. He has a plan right now to maybe grant this immortality to people that Simon cares about, like his immediate family. They're exploring some of those things, bringing in more people from lore and legend and history in the United States. And so it's a cool way of like integrating all that stuff. It's like an Elseworld kind of a story, and I'm digging it. I think the real winners here are the people that can pick this up and trade. I certainly have a great time with the single issue experience. I think it's worth it at the end of the day, but sometimes you end on this big cliffhanger, this action moment, this now what are they going to do moment, and you really want to get that next issue. So I really envy the people that are reading this in trade, but the single issue run is pretty good too. All right, roll up to your window and get your spyware, man. We have Ice Cream Man number 45, completely homaging or whatever it is, the classic 1954 movie Rear Window. Even going as far as calling the main character in the story James, we have a very similar situation where we have this man who's been laid up at the moment, peering out and spying on all the neighbors across the way in the different apartment windows. Now, of course, in classic Ice Cream Man fashion, there's all these different conflicts that we introduce to, like either domestic disputes or even violence. We have these other eccentric characters that are kind of like playing a meta commentary role through here, telling about the reader and possibly even the main character's emotional states and like what is obviously happening. And we have a lot of other interesting things going on too, with some murder mysteries and whatnot that we explore through the issue. Now, also in classic Ice Cream Man fashion, there's so much more meta commentary, bring the reader along for the journey types of things happening inside the issue. Not to the same effect that Assorted Crisis events had recently in some of their issues, but I like to be a participant in the comics, especially in these like existential crisis type events. This one was a little bit harder to maybe relate to or see what the message is necessarily, but anytime we get an Ice Cream Man story in our pull boxes, I'm excited for, because we don't get a lot of those anymore. Used to be routine, man. We used to get these every month, but now it seems to be every quarter or more. But we have some other great things from the same creative team coming out, like we had that Superman book, Kryptonite Spectrum, and we have more things with, I think, Deadman coming down the pipe. Really excited for all that work. All right, next up is the Invincible Universe Battle Beast issue number 8. Kirkman on this one, Otley on it, of course. I really enjoy this series. I actually like it more because I'm reading Invincible for the first time. I think I'm in issue like 30-ish right now. So it's been really fun to see a lot of these characters showing up and playing some kind of a role inside of Battle Beast. So I'm going to learn that context and just understand like who this character is and like the universe that he's in and like his place in it. So I think it's adding that really important part of my experience with the series so far. Now, pretty much every issue of Battle Beast is exactly the same. Battle Beast wants that sweet release of death. He wants to find that force that will take him out. We're still dealing with two different foes now combining their powers to take on Battle Beast in the goriest way possible. Some insane moments inside of here, head splitting, brain eating, green blood everywhere type of stuff, limbs flying left and right, kinds of battles inside of here. So it's completely over the top. It's insane. It's absurd. If you like Invincible, you're inevitably going to love this series too. All right, next up we have Wagner and Hilliard over on Narco issue number 2. Very familiar team that has collabed on a lot of different books before. Narco is their latest book right now about a young boy who's trying to navigate the love scene, right? He's got this girl he's obsessed with at the moment. She ends up getting murdered at the end of issue number 1. Now he's wrapped up in that investigation. He has these physical ailments with these heart palpitations and narcolepsy that impact him whenever he gets stressed out. So it's going to inevitably lead to some crazy stuff. Now, in this issue, he switches from being the prime suspect to being someone detectives are leaning on to help this murder investigation. It's very conversational. There's not a whole lot of stuff that goes on. The things that we leaned on, like him passing out, right, due to his heart rate, his arrhythmias, and his narcolepsy, don't really play a role inside of issue number 2 necessarily. At least they're not super obvious. Some of the panel work suggests him coming in and out, but it's not as obvious as issue number 1. Again, it's a heavy conversation type issue. A lot of just drama in general. So if you like that kind of stuff, I think you're going to dig this one. But I think I'm 2 and done on the series, to be honest with you. All right, next up is the Hab issue number 1 from Bad Idea. We have some great people on this one. We have David Lampum, we have Bill Sienkiewicz, we have Jacob Phillips, and we have Desart doing the writing. So an interesting creative team. I could not miss out on that one. Now, basically, it's about an eccentric billionaire or whatever he might be who's isolating his family after an apocalyptic event. The world is not safe. He's developed this entire habitat for him and his family and his servants or whatever staff to live in. And it's about them kind of getting acquainted to their new surroundings, the Hab in general, and inevitably some of the problems that might come from that. Now, there's this like ancestral spiritual element that's poisoning the scene that they're in right now. We don't exactly know how or why, but a lot of the people in this new environment are hallucinating, they're becoming extremely violent, and they're basically tearing each other apart, almost like a zombie kind of sleepwalking state. So we're still playing catch up on like why this is happening and how it's happening, but right now we're not really in a mode where we can understand why it's happening. We're in survival mode through this issue. There's a lot of vulnerable people throughout here, and the main perspective is the young girl, this daughter of the guy that's kind of running everything, a lot of animosity amongst the family and stuff like that. So we're dealing with a lot of emotional, now this scary killer threat. Now, I do have issue number 2 pre-ordered, so we're going to see what's going on there. It's going to judge whether or not I want to continue reading this or not, if it can keep my interest peaked. But with this creative team, man, anything's possible, I think. So check out the Hab if you haven't yet. All right, guys, that's what I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below what you grabbed and what your favorite books of the week were. And again, while you're down there, go check out the description. I'll have links to a lot of these books. It's a great way to help catch up and help me support the channel. But as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.